Hi, my name is Robin Meyer, and I'm with the East Cobb Quilters Guild. And I'm here today to record an interview with Denise Russell, a member of our guild. This is another in the series of interviews that we've called Who We Are. They're designed to introduce guild members to each other and introduce our members to the public at large. So I hope you'll enjoy our conversation because I know that Denise and I are going to have a great time. So Denise, tell us a little bit about what drew you to quilting originally, when that was. I know you're relatively new to the guild, so those are things that I don't know about you, even though we've chatted.
That's right. I moved to Georgia exactly a year ago from Utah, and I lived in Utah for 15 years. And then here, before that, here on the East Coast, I've been in the US for 37 years. So I've gone everywhere. I started quilting in 2005. I knew what quilts were. I actually had one in my bedroom, a small wall hanging that I had purchased in Pennsylvania, and I had little experience sewing garments. And but back in 2005, I had just sold my translation company to a competitor, and I was working as a real estate investor, and I was traveling all over, um, doing due diligence in properties and renovating properties. So I was in the midst of a lot of men. With my then husband and three sons, I was craving women contact. I lived in a very small town in Maryland, and there was a quilt store there. So I said, maybe it's time to dust off the old sewing machine. And I went to the quilt store one Saturday morning, and I looked at the books all the way at the back of the store, and I found an Eleanor Burns book, Quilt in a Day, how to make log cabins.
Right.
I took it home. I read it cover to cover about 6 times. Then I said, I think I can do that. So I went back to the store the following weekend, and I purchased fabrics, and the rest is history. So I quilted for quite a long time. I took a few lessons, but because of my traveling schedule and my young kids, I just couldn't be taking classes. So I I basically just purchased books and of every technique that I learned, that I saw that I liked, and lots of patterns and tons of fabric. And then in 2015, I was in the middle of my master's degree when I decided to offer my submit some of my works to magazines. And they accepted. It was Quilters World, the first one. And since 2015, I have had many of my projects featured in Quilters World, American Patchwork and Quilting, American Quilter, used to be Modern Quilting Magazine, the International Quilt Show magazine, and so the manufacturers noticed my work, and I started talking with them. They were contacting me. I attended a Quilt International Quilt Market in Salt Lake City in 2016. And then through those contacts, I began designing quilts for the manufacturers. And of course, you design a quilt and you write the pattern. So I was already writing patterns for magazines and then to the manufacturers. And man, that became a business for me. So I've designed for Moda, the Blank Quilting, Henry Glass, Studio E, Norcott, Hoffman, Marcus, Wyndham Fabrics, Banner Tex, P&B Textiles, and so it was fantastic. Now about writing the patterns. And in terms of the techniques, I loved everything. I loved paper piecing. I loved strip piecing. The English paper piecing. I tried everything. Folding fabric, you name it, I liked it. And that's what got me interested in designing too, because I said, oh, cool. I think I can do something else with this. And then, of course, I was curious about EQ, Electric Quilt, the software. right now we use EQ8. And because I would design and put blocks, of course I had to make the blocks and put them on a wall and decide how I was going to make the quilt. But once I started with the software, oh my goodness, because I could audition fabrics, it was fantastic.
Mhm.
And that helped me because the manufacturers, they want to see a digital image of the designs. So they will send me JPEGs, little pictures of all the fabrics in a collection. And Denise, we need, let's say, 2 designs for this collection. And I would send them 5, 6 options. And then they would get back to me and say, yeah, we like this one and we like that one. And so I would write the pattern for that. And they would, you can go on their website, Timeless Treasures. I think it was my first client, and Dear Stella. And you can download the projects. They would purchase the rights from me and then provide it to the quilters for free.
Wow.
So I have been doing this since 2015, writing patterns like that. And I love it. And of course, my master's degree is in instructional design, which falls into educational psychology. I have a background in psychology. Now, wouldn't you know that that helps me a lot with the writing of the patterns, because instructional design is all about how can you teach young people or adults, how can you design videos for companies to train their employees or their customers, etc. And so I can't believe I chose that. It was a great choice. So
I think it is a great choice. I didn't even know there was such a degree.
yes, instructional design, and there is a bachelor's and there's also a master's degree, which is what I did. I have a bachelor's in psychology. And so it is fantastic. All the training videos, people need to know all the technology about, uh, putting together the videos, and also all the adult instruction theories and how people learn, et cetera, et cetera.
So when the manufacturers
Yes.
send you those swatches of their
Mhm.
upcoming line, are you in a position of needing to put all of the fabrics into each of your designs?
It depends on the manufacturer. They'll tell me. Sometimes the collection, sometimes the collection has 42 SKUs, 42 fabrics. You can't use 42 because the quilt stores will kill you, and so will the quilters.
Right.
And so I can make a scrappy quilt design with maybe 12 or 15 fabrics. And some manufacturers would say use they would have collections like Blank Quilting and Harry Glass and Studio E. Their collections are very small. They have 6, 8 fabrics in the collection. In that case, I can use them all. But it all depends on what I already do, what I want. Sometimes they'll give me instructions. Use as many as you can,
Mhm.
or use pre-cuts. We have pre-cut in this collection. So yeah, it's and of course, uh, I never see the fabrics
Right.
ever, unless, for instance, for the block of the month that programs that I designed for Blank Quilting, for instance, I made the quilts that they wanted to show to the stores, and so I saw the fabric. Otherwise, I never saw the fabric, and I test the pattern with the fabrics that I have.
How interesting. So for magazines, though, those are actual. As a consumer of those magazines,
Yes.
I see a finished quilt in there, I think.
Yes, you do, because they need to do the photo shoots. And so I come up with an idea and I send it to a magazine. Sometimes, most often they send a call to designers. Hey, we're planning on doing this kind of magazine or this book, and we're looking for designs, I don't know, for table runners or something you can do on a weekend or whatever. And so I'll come up with the designs, and I will use a fabric line that I have access to, the JPEGs, or they would say, can you use this, or that collection, or a collection from this manufacturer or whatever. And I present the designs, and that's it. So I deliver the quilt with the pattern. And let me see, most magazines, yeah, all magazines have the pattern edited by somebody else. And two of the magazines that I've been working with for years, they send the articles to me before they're published to make sure, yeah, it's been added. Do you agree with changes? Because sometimes they have to change the techniques. So it's crazy because I make the quilt using this technique and I write it down. The pattern is using the technique, but because of space issues or whatever, they use a different way to make the flying geese or to make the half square triangle. So now when the pattern comes back to me, all the cutting structures, everything has been changed. And I'm like, okay, which is fine, but the editing is kind of crazy because you have to start from beginning, to make sure everything is okay.
Right.
But it's a
Yes.
lot of fun and I love it. And I just love this work. I love designing quilts. I love writing patterns. I like teaching, and I love being able to present at guilds. I have a presentation that is being, actually, I've done it once at what Chattahoochee.
Chattahoochee Evening Stars.
Yes, so I did a presentation there at the beginning of April. A program about how to make quilts with panels, and it is pretty good because I never really liked designing for panels, but when you're working, there's no such thing as, oh, I don't like this fabric collection. Oh no, panels again. And so I'm just saying, okay, but you want me to do it, I'll do it. And man, have I designed quilts with panels. So I did that, and then on the 25th of this month, I'm making the same presentation at Cherokee Rose,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then in September there is another quilt in Macron,
Oh,
Macron,
make.
and I forget the name. But so I love that. Because then I get to talk about, the designs, show them what I've made, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm living the life.
I think you are. I think you are. Not very many people have managed to turn their avocation into their vocation. So that's
That's
off.
right.
Yes.
That's right. And it happened. I mean, I have a business background, so it was easy for me to meet deadlines with the clients because they can be very tight. And the interesting thing is that I designed the collection hasn't even been printed yet. There's no fabric. 6 months later or more, a quilt is published in a magazine or a collection is starting to ship to stores. And so if sometimes happens that a quilter has a question, and I'm like, did I really design this? Did I design? It's like it's been such a long time.
Right.
But
I think that those of us on the other side of your work have, yes, we really have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. And surely it does take a lot of time to ship fabric all over the world and
yes,
magazines published and all that sort of thing. So do you think your designs have a particular style? Do you think manufacturers call on you or magazines call on you when they're looking for something in particular?
well, because I had to design for every sort of fabric collection, novelty, modern, traditional, 1930s, 1800s, reproduction, you name it, basic collections. I So I can do, it's what the fabric calls for.
Okay.
That's what I do. And so I don't have a style. It's what the fabric calls for. Or sometimes, not often, but a client will come to me and say, well, I'm thinking of something a little bit more traditional, or a pattern surface designer would come to me and say, okay, I designed this collection. I have these ideas in mind, but I don't know how to design the quilt and write a pattern. So, it's what the client wants or what the collection calls for. More modern, more this, not a specific technique. Sometimes, and I ask, are there techniques that I should avoid more
Right.
so than fabrics,
Right.
And
So,
so I don't have a specific thing. Oh, Denise can do this.
okay. Because
It, it I just do it.
you'd like to do it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this way, so it's super flexible. I like that.
Yeah.
and and then yeah, and I have more flexibility for magazines, believe it or not, because it's a different audience. The magazine, you can do whatever you want, easy, difficult, and whatever, within what the magazine publishes.
Mhm.
For manufacturers, I'm always thinking of the quilter and how much fabric that design includes, calls for. In the past few years, I've tried to design quilts that look complicated but are super easy to make. So I guess if you wanted to peg me, that would be one
Do you
one
make
of them.
quilts for yourself?
Huh?
Do you have time to make quilts for yourself?
Yes, I do, because there is always midnight to 6 a.m. You know, and so I have a ton of quilts, and I love trying different things. I love batiks. I love, and but also I've been working with 1930 fabrics, and but there was one kind of um, design that I haven't made yet, which is the New York Beauty, and also the Mariner's Compass.
Right.
And so those two are really, but I haven't had time. And I know I'm gonna love it because I love paper pieces. So
I like paper piecing too. I really do. It's a great way to get an awful lot of complicated stuff done and
well,
look
and yet
sharp.
the fun thing about quilting is that you are always learning. There is no end. It is either a new technique or a different way to do something than you've taught or that you've learned or the people have taught you. So much learning. And now this week is my 1 month anniversary working as a technical pattern writer for Missouri Star Quilt Company.
Wow.
So I'm working full time for them, and they are very heavy on pre-cuts and using templates. And so I'm I'm getting a little stronger on that corner, because we all use templates and paper piecing and pre-cuts, but I'm doing more and more and more of that. So it's been pretty cool.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. So do you have a house full of quilts?
I do. I'm staring at one over there, and then I change them according to the seasons. I have two for my bed, and well, I could use many more. And I've given away, you know how it is,
Right.
so many quilts, and
Right.
I sell them and the patterns on my Etsy store, Piece to Brain. So I've sold many of the quilts that I made, quilts that have been featured in magazines. So yeah.
What a life. What a life. So
Yeah,
that
it can get crazy sometimes. Deadlines can drive you nuts, and
yes,
I like to meet them.
yes,
I think it has to do a lot with my business background. I know how terrible it is when you say, "Sure, I can do it by that day," and everybody's counting on it, and then you don't deliver. So, it can get crazy.
yes. I understand that too. So did you belong to a guild before the East Cobb Quilters Guild?
Yes, in Utah, at Piece of Heaven in Draper. I was a member for a long time. And then in 2013 or 14, my life was getting crazy and I just had to leave. And because of, you know, challenges with my sons and stuff. And that's when I started a blog, 2013, because I still needed a community. And I became member of the Utah Guild and the Modern uh, Quilting Guild. And so I still am member of those. And of course now with these Cobb, so I moved to Georgia, and because I have a son who lives here and my grandsons are here. And I'm like a few months into it, I'm like, oh, I need to get to know people. It's so lonely. And then it was a Sunday afternoon, I'm like, duh, a quilt guild. So I was looking online, and I really liked what I saw online about the East Cobb Quilt Guild. And I thought, and it's in Marietta where my son lives. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this one a try. And I'm so glad that I did. I haven't done much with the programs yet. I mean, joining bees or something like that, even though I love hand quilting. And I used to do that every week in Utah. But, it's still between my work and life, it's been kind of difficult, but I'm looking forward to it.
But I understand you've gotten involved with the raffle quilt for
Yes.
2024.
Yes, and that was an honor to be part of the committee and think up the design, and I designed the blocks according to what they were thinking. And some I designed, many of them they designed, and what my job really was is do the digital part of that. And so maybe two of the blocks I designed, and the rest had the whole quilt, the committee designed. But I did put them in software and have them came up with the templates. And so that was great.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of work, they did a lot of cutting the fabric and all that, but it just so happened that in the middle of it, I got this job and it's full time. I was like, oh, that's all that I can do, people. So I look forward to continue to helping them until, the quilt is done and
Yeah.
ready, but it was fantastic.
Well, I have my kit and I've made my 3 little blocks. So
Oh, that's awesome.
your work
Awesome.
is out there. Your work is absolutely out
That's
there.
good. That's good. Yeah, I really like designing quilts and writing the instructions. It's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. So are you a daytime attendee or an evening group attendee or both?
The first meeting I attended at the evening, and I thought that I was going to continue, but then I switched to the daytime because, my work, I was working as a freelancer, so I could go. But now that I'm working full time, I'm not quite sure I'm going to be able to go during the day. So I have to figure that one out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we have that kind of flexibility.
Yes.
You're not the only one who benefits from it. And I think it's
Yeah,
great
that's
we have
great because the quilts that I belonged to before, they only met once a month and it was in the morning between 10 and noon, and that's it.
Yeah.
You can make it fine if you get having this meeting in the evening. It's pretty cool. So I may have to switch to that. I don't know yet.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you whichever meeting we're at.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you so much for talking with us today. It's been really interesting.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I think as people watch this and read the article that you're probably going to get a couple of people tugging on your sleeve and asking you even more questions about this, because I think it's
that'll be fun. Yeah, that'll be fun. It's a lot of fun. I learn a lot from everybody. Why not help them too?
And I think that's a good thing for all of us to say. So
yes.
Okay. Well,
I'm glad that you contact me, and thank you for this opportunity to talk a little bit about what I like to do.
Well, I've enjoyed it too, and I think everybody watching will feel exactly the same.
Thank you.
Thanks.